Today I'm reacting to your Friday Night Smackdown Hot Takes. Hot Takes is a weekly video series where I give you all a platform to be able to voice your thoughts, whether those are good thoughts, bad thoughts, or everything in between about the world of professional wrestling. So if you'd like to be featured in the next episode of Hot Takes, make sure that you're following me over on X because I ask for your hot takes there after every episode of Raw, Smackdown, and every single WWE Premium Live event. And if you are looking for our full review of this particular episode of Friday Night Smackdown with footage so that you can see exactly what it is that we're talking about, that's going to be up and available over on patreon.com/SantiZap. Over there, we upload the Raw reviews, Smackdown reviews, PLE reviews, and a whole bunch of other videos that use real footage that we can't post here because they would just get blocked to the copyright. So go check it out. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know that you're going to fall in love with his YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, that's enough. Let's see what you guys sent in. Drew should have won the title at WrestlePalooza. The feud could have extended and Cody could have just won the title back at 3 Stages of Hell. Gives Drew a longer reign. WWE doesn't have this plot hole of Cody getting a rematch when they said he wouldn't be getting one. I actually agree here. I think that WrestlePalooza was the most ideal place to make Drew McIntyre the WWE champion, especially considering the fall is such an inconsequential time to be a WWE world champion, considering you get put in the Crown Jewel match, you get put in the Survivor Series War Games match. At that point, you're not even really properly being a champion, so you might as well experiment at that point and give the title to somebody like Drew McIntyre so he can have a longer reign, as opposed to just giving it to him at the start of the year only for him to lose it so quickly because you're dead set on doing Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania, a match which, by the way, I'm incredibly excited for. I just wish that WWE did a better job at getting us there without said plot hole that you're talking about that makes no sense, without diminishing the importance of winning the Elimination Chamber, because who cares if you lose because you'll just get a match anyway. Then very following episode of Friday Night Smackdown where you can win the WWE Championship. There are problems with how WWE went about to getting us to where we're going. That being said, this is a situation where the road trip sucks, but we're still going to Disneyland, baby. Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton should not be a match that anyone is upset about, and so many people online are incredibly mad about it. However, I will stand beside you, side by side, pitchfork in hand, and argue that all of this could have been done much better, and I do think that one of those first dominoes that could have fallen to make all of this feel better and more organic could have been Drew McIntyre winning all the way back at WrestlePalooza when he honestly probably should have. I know it sucks seeing McIntyre not going to WrestleMania as WWE champion, but at least they made it make sense with the Fatu interference. Cody versus Randy, and now Jacob versus Drew. We're finally going to end the never-ending meme of Randy staring a hole into Cody's undisputed title, or maybe it's just the beginning for the two. I definitely think this is the beginning of Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton as a proper program. I think that this is probably going to be the main driving force of 2026 storytelling. At least that's how I'm seeing things on the onset. And yeah, sure, we got Cody versus Randy, which is obviously fantastic, and Jacob versus Drew is going to be a fun match, but honestly, I really felt like this was a good year to allow Drew McIntyre to go in as WWE champion and do a fatal four-way and make it as jam-packed of a road to WrestleMania with as many main eventers as you possibly could. That being said, again, I am not somebody that is going to complain about getting Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton at the end of the day. You know, we can say that it makes sense that now we're going to be getting Jacob versus Drew, but it doesn't change the fact that there is a fundamental truth here, that Drew McIntyre is taking a significant step down on this road to WrestleMania. Obviously, Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre, that's an important match, but Drew McIntyre really did put himself in a driver's seat to really be in a far more important marquee match at WrestleMania. So now seeing this move, this pivot towards Jacob Fatu, I can't help but feel as a Drew McIntyre fan that we're getting a significant downgrade to where Drew McIntyre could have and arguably should have been. I think at the end of the day, it's just like the wrong place, wrong time for a Drew McIntyre World Championship run, especially with WWE in full-blown panic mode and trying to move tickets. And I think in their head, and I don't blame them, that Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton is the match that is going to move significantly more tickets. And to that extent, I have to agree with them. So yeah, does it suck not seeing Drew McIntyre, not going into WrestleMania as WWE champion? It does. I really, really wanted this to be the year that we get that from Drew McIntyre. But also, I try to put on my TKO glasses and I can see I gotta get where they're coming from, unfortunately. Drew was screwed. The road to Mania is not ruined for me, but as of now, it's definitely soured a bit. I think for me, the road to how we got here is the problem. Like I said, the destination I'm excited for, but it does feel like we kind of forced our way to get Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton when it could have been done in a far more organic way. And it does start all the way back at WrestlePalooza. They had the opportunity to retcon it and fix it at Saturday night's main event, but they just took too damn long. And now Drew McIntyre is going to come off as what he really is, which was unfortunately just a transitional champion. And let's not forget about like the fact that he was like legally screwed. There was literally a contractually binding clause in a contract that prevented Cody Rhodes from getting a rematch, that he had to earn a rematch to go up against Drew McIntyre for the WWE title, something that he didn't do at the Royal Rumble, something that he didn't do at Elimination Chamber, something that was literally just handed to him. And what was the reasoning? Because Nick Aldis says, well, you went back on your word, so now I'm going to go back on mine. But there's a contract. Drew, get a lawyer. Better call Saul. Funnily enough, I know that a lot of people are upset about this. However, I am willing to bet that if the tables were slightly turned, if it was Randy Orton that won the title and would go into WrestleMania as the champion and Cody had won the chamber, I actually think people would have been more okay with it. I think people are just a little bit sour on the idea of just going back to Cody Rhodes and giving him the WWE championship and putting him back in the spotlight at WrestleMania. I think that's what people are sour on, not necessarily that we're getting Randy versus Cody. I'm still excited for WrestleMania. I'm still excited for the match, but I will also be the first one to tell you that I don't think that this was handled very well, especially having Sami Zayn literally point out to everyone watching at home in the backstage segment between Sami and Cody Rhodes how ridiculous it is that Cody's even getting this match in the first place. They literally pointed it out. They were so meta about it. Yeah, this is stupid. And then they do it anyway and put the title on Cody as is. Either.
Like
holy shit! Oh my god!
Whisper the win!
Jeez! So we're already cooking there. Ooh, God, I love that finisher. That was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool offerings, available exclusively over on patreon.com/SantiZap. For Match Club this week, we're looking at the fantastic Asuka versus Ember Moon at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa in the unsanctioned Lights Out match, the Hell in a Cell match between Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks. This one was a heater. You're going to be getting those three plus two other matches that we've yet to announce, plus the weekly Elimination Chamber Series watch along and the weekly episode of the NXT TakeOver main event watch along as well. All of these series are exclusively available over on patreon.com/SantiZap because we can't ever post them here because they would just get instantly blocked due to copyright. Not only are you going to get these videos as part of the daily content offerings there, but you're also going to get the Raw reviews, Smackdown reviews, PLE reviews with footage as well. Not to mention all of the series that are already complete, like ranking and watching every Undertaker WrestleMania match, as well as ranking and watching every single men's and women's Royal Rumble match ever. There is a lot of content over there. So again, go check it out. Patreon.com/SantiZap. Link in the description, link in the pinned comment. If you're already a patron, thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get you back to the video. I love the new tag team of R-Truth and Damien, and I'm sure those are two stars who can take those titles to WrestleMania. However, Los Garzas cooked hard. I hope that they win the tag title sometime this year. They have always been good in the ring. Listen, it's not even just Los Garzas. That entire gauntlet match was really solid. It's a stark reminder that there's no reason for the SmackDown tag team division to have gone by the wayside the way that it has. It's not as if it all of a sudden got bad after the amazing SmackDown TLC match that they had at SummerSlam. It's just for some reason they just stopped featuring them and they decided to focus on MFTs and the Wyatt Sicks. Meanwhile, you've got insanely talented tag teams like Los Garzas who absolutely torched in this match. You still got Motor City, you still got Fraxium, you got the Street Profits waiting in the wings, and now you're adding an incredibly charismatic team of R-Truth and Damian Priest. This tag team division still has a tremendous amount of talent, and I just really cannot buy any reason as to why this division just stopped being featured the way that it was heavily at this point last year. I love Drew McIntyre, but from a business standpoint, Cody versus Randy is a bigger match and it will move tickets. As we all know, WWE is desperate to sell tickets. A big conversation that I've been having on the podcast recently is, what is WWE's panic button? Is their panic button to try new things, to experiment with new stars and hoping that that moves tickets, that creates a new amount of buzz? Or is it to go back to the traditional? Is it to go back to the tried and true, the people that have always moved tickets and we've learned what their panic button is? It is indeed to go to the status quo, go to the stars that they know can move tickets. I mean, it started with the Royal Rumble, where they gave it to 4 established main eventers in Roman Reigns, Randy Orton winning the Elimination Chamber, Rhea Ripley winning the Chamber, and Liv Morgan winning the Rumble. You have 4 established main eventers that have won all of the major opportunities to go to WrestleMania. That should tell you that WWE right now is in no interest, has no desire to experiment going into WrestleMania. That is not the way that they plan on moving tickets. Instead, they're going with the tried and true. And again, for better or for worse, however you want to interpret it, Cody versus Randy is absolutely a ticket mover. Cody versus Randy is a match that me and many of you, I would dare say pretty much all of you, have been waiting for. We've been getting annoyed by Randy Orton just constantly staring at the title never-endingly, and now here we are. It's just kind of crazy to me that people are throwing tomatoes at the wall when we know we're getting Randy versus Cody. Again, I understand that the path to get there a little bit problematic, but I have to agree with this sentiment. I think that is WWE's path. They believe firmly that Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton is the path to try and sell out WrestleMania, and it's just a damn shame that Drew McIntyre, apparently in WWE and TKO's eyes from a business perspective, isn't on that level. Get ready for his possible Mania match, Santi. We will be waiting for him to jump off the top rope. Oh God, it feels like the clock is counting down. I am just not physically ready. Actually, literally not physically ready. I've been getting in good shape. I've been bulking, however. I need to start, doing some crunches and running some laps around the house to start losing some of this beautiful body fat that I've accumulated here over the winter bulk, because it looks like this guy is absolutely determined to come back for WrestleMania and jump off the top damn rope. There's no way that he's coming back to do nothing, right? I have to imagine that in some capacity, this return on Friday Night SmackDown, and never forget the fact that now that will be 3 straight episodes of SmackDown that he'll be featured in some capacity, being in the crowd in Louisville, appearing via satellite on this recent episode in Portland, and now actually going in person to, I guess, have a conversation with Randy, with Cody Rhodes, and probably have interactions with a couple of the villains backstage. They're doing something here with Jelly Roll. I do think it's a curious conversation. What are they gonna do with Jelly Roll? Because it does kind of feel like all of those traditional names that you would expect a Jelly Roll to work with, either because he already has history with them or the ones that would work well with celebrities. It looks like they're busy at the moment. So I am having a tough time kind of piecing together the dots as to what Jelly Roll might be doing at WrestleMania. It could be he has a match, sure, but right now as it stands, I'm having a tough time picturing what that match would be. It could be a Bad Bunny WrestleMania 39 situation where he's part of a program that leads to an eventual match, say at Backlash. That could be a possibility as well. Regardless of what the possibility is, I need to start doing some freaking crunches here. I'm sorry, Santi, but after that promo battle, Io might end up being the sacrificial lamb. This wasn't great. You can feel the lack of chemistry on the mic. I'm sure the match will deliver, but if this is the build for 6 weeks, are fans really going to care? This was bad. I think as simple as that. I don't think it was good at all. I think what maybe saved this was just the fact that these two just have so much star power, and just the presence of the two in the ring was really believable. But the conversation, the motivation of this match, I have bigger muscles than you. Yeah, you do have bigger muscles, but my muscles are better for fighting. What was that? It was bizarre. It felt inorganic. Like you said, there felt like there was absolutely no chemistry at all whatsoever. Again, don't get me wrong. I think I am willing to continue to give it a chance. I am excited again for the prospect of the match. But if this is the quality of story that we're going to be getting between these two, the type of chemistry that we're going to be getting between these two over the next 6 weeks, brother, we got a long 6 weeks ahead of us. Now, this hot take mentions Io Sky being the sacrificial lamb. One of the things that I said was, if you really want this feud to really land, to feel like a blood feud, then you have Jade Cargill take out Io Sky like Gunther took out Jimmy Uso before WrestleMania, leaving her all bloodied up if they're willing to do that. I don't want that. I don't want that to be, the panic button, the nuclear codes to try and save this feud, because that would mean sacrificing Io Sky and not having her at WrestleMania, which I obviously do not want. But that might be the only thing that could make this feud interesting, sadly. Everything Sami Zayn is doing now, we already saw Owens do it, and it worked amazingly for him. Sami is going to turn into a frustrated heel who only speaks the truth. For now, he's managing to become really relevant again. Little by little, this is working on me. Little by little, I'm starting to see the light when it comes to Sami Zayn, and it looks like Sami Zayn himself as a character is starting to see the light, because for the first time, he didn't apologize for the things that he said, because he's been telling the fundamental facts, the truth. And I hate when people point at facts and truth and then apologize for it. Not this week. Sami pointed out the BS that Cody was getting that championship match, because it is. There is no defending Cody getting that match at all whatsoever. And I like the fact that he pointed out to Randy, like, yo, how are you capable of doing that to somebody that you call your friend? Explain that to me. And maybe that will help Sami maybe see the light, that he doesn't always have to take the higher road, that he doesn't have to be holier than thou, that he can maybe drop this white knight persona that he's had here for so long and maybe be a little bit more like his old pal Kevin Owens. But this is working for me. I don't know that the payoff here will be WrestleMania. I'm starting to maybe sniff maybe going into the summer, maybe going into Saudi again. They're apparently going there in about June-ish. So it could be something that pays off there ultimately. But WWE, for all of their faults, they are pretty much batting 100% and have been perfect with the quote justified heel. They've done a really great job at booking that type of character. And if that's where Sami Zayn is going to go, I'm in. I've defended Cody from the online hate mob for years, but even I think WWE giving him the title again will be the straw that breaks the camel's back and makes the crowd turn on him. The one way that they can salvage this is to make Randy turn heel and win 15 at WrestleMania. My friend, what you're referring to is something that the internet has coined as Cody fatigue. Here's the thing, Cody fatigue, I think, is exclusively on the internet. I don't think that it exists in the arenas yet. It has a potential to maybe get there, especially in a feud with Randy Orton, who nobody is going to boo at this stage in his career, even if he were to turn heel. I bet if Randy turns heel on Cody, that it's going to get the biggest pop of the year. But I have been around long enough to see, the top babyface when they win too much, when they win WWE championships left, right, and center. More often than not, a huge chunk of the crowd does tend to turn on them. It obviously happened to my favorite wrestler of all time in John Cena. I don't know that we're going to get that with Cody Rhodes, but this is kind of where things could eventually go if we continue to go down this path with Cody Rhodes. I don't think we're there. I don't think we're going to be there for WrestleMania, but, I think between Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton, I think ultimately the crowd favorite is going to be Randy. Everything with Sami Zayn right now feels like WWE setting him up for a big post-WrestleMania push. I could see him getting a title shot at Backlash, and with how often the WWE title has been changing hands lately, I wouldn't be shocked if Sami becomes champion soon. I honestly wouldn't hate it. I also, to point out something else that you pointed out here, I love the fact that the WWE Championship has not felt like this thing that we have to wait till WrestleMania or SummerSlam to see an actual title change. I like the fact that we've been getting it on Friday Night SmackDown a couple of months apart. It's nice bite-sized championship reigns. I think, honestly, that is ultimately going to be for the best, especially post-WrestleMania, where you can experiment a little bit more, and giving a short title reign to Sami Zayn after a short title reign from, say, Cody Rhodes, if he were to retain at WrestleMania, sounds pretty fun to me. Wrestling has more than one Royal Hulkamaniac, brother. Just wanted to show you this because this has been an AI image that has been thrown around all over the place by the internet, which is what I mean by internet Cody fatigue, but I just don't think that we're going to be seeing said Cody fatigue in the crowds anytime soon. If one of these guys should turn heel, it should be Cody. Yes, Randy is a great heel, but Cody has been the same guy ever since his return to WWE. He needs a change. The easy move here is definitely to make Randy Orton the heel. However, we are at that juncture, that point in Randy Orton's career where I just don't think that a heel turn is going to create the divide, the good guy versus bad guy. Everyone boo the bad guy. Everyone cheer the bad guy. The WWE probably wants. At this point in his career, if Randy Orton were to turn heel, which is the version of Randy Orton that most fans prefer, that plus the fact that he is this beloved veteran now, I think it's just going to lead people to root for Randy Orton over Cody Rhodes. I actually kind of agree with you here. If you want to create an actual shocking road to WrestleMania or a shocking WrestleMania moment, the heel turn should belong to Cody Rhodes instead of Randy Orton, because the Randy Orton heel turn, we're all expecting it. We're all kind of demanding it and waiting for it. Meanwhile, the Cody Rhodes heel turn still feels like this elusive, this apple that we're not supposed to bite into yet. And if they were to pull the trigger on Cody turning heel on his mentor, on one of his best friends, Randy Orton, god damn it, that would land. SmackDown should not make the same mistake that they did with Tiffany Stratton and let Trick Williams be the self-centered ego superstar that he is. He'll go to the top without the company forcing the face look on him. He's already on top. No need to fix what's not broken. I completely agree, and I think you actually use a very, very good example here of Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany Stratton got over because of the self-centered ego work that she was doing, coupled with the great character work, coupled with the great matches. And it does feel like we don't have that same Tiffany Stratton anymore. It does feel like a watered-down version of what fans initially fell in love with, and I don't want to see that with Trick Williams. I know a lot of people believe he should just turn face. Maybe eventually down the line, but right now what he is doing is working. Run with it. Allow him to have as much runway as possible to do what he is continuously doing as well as he's doing. I think if you were to turn him face right now, I think you would kill a lot of that organic flavor that Trick Williams currently has. I can't believe that the best part was R-Truth and Damien winning. I will say, does this tag team not feel like it should have happened like 5 months ago, especially when we thought that the Damien Priest and R-Truth feud was coming to an end? I would have liked to see this happen maybe as early as looking back at like WrestlePalooza or something like that. I think that this is a great idea. I think that this is a smart way to get these guys on the card if you have intentions of doing something with the SmackDown tag team division, because, you know, as tired as a lot of people might be about Damien Priest, he is very good at what he does, and he should be regularly featured on those major shows like WrestleMania. And if this is a way for us to get R-Truth on the show, then I'm not gonna complain. I love Oba, but admittedly, I'm starting to get a little bit tired of the back and forth, quote, which brand will he pick thing. I'd rather he commit soon so he can start to actually have storylines / feuds rather than just be the almost comedic squash guy every week. I think we're about to get there. Again, it all really depends on what they're going to be doing here with Brock Lesnar. I think we could be looking at Oba Femi getting locked down for Monday Night Raw. It already looks like they are already building to some sort of, at the very least, short-term storyline with Rusev. And if he answers that Brock Lesnar open challenge, then yeah, we're for sure locking down Oba Femi to Monday Night Raw with a program going into WrestleMania. I think I'm with you. I think that this last squash with Johnny Gargano should be the last one. I don't think that it's going to be, but I think now is the time. We've seen enough of Oba Femi across both brands. I don't mind seeing him as much as they've been featuring him, but we do need to lock him down to a program, to a storyline here on this road to WrestleMania, and hopefully it's sometime soon. I know they booked Jade versus Michin next week to make Jade look strong going into WrestleMania, but it really doesn't. Nobody cares about this feud, and with all due respect, nobody takes Michin seriously. It really does nothing to benefit Jade. I obviously completely agree. I've actually been saying this for a very long time, that Jade Cargill just destroying B-Fab and Michin does not make Jade Cargill look into this like this dominant champion like WWE wants her to look. What's funny is that Jade Cargill, to me, still feels like a dominant champion, but not because of what she's been doing to Michin and B-Fab. It's just on her own right, her own look, her own aura, her own presentation. Now imagine if they were actually allowing her to beat the hell out of some more established stars on the main roster, then I think we could be looking at a far more star-studded Jade Cargill going into WrestleMania. But just beating up Michin over and over and over and over and over and over and over again is not gonna cut it. I think you're going to have diminishing returns, if anything. I think that it's time that we completely move on from this. It's time that Michin go do something else. I don't think it's even doing Michin any favors either. This may be a bit off topic since it technically didn't happen on SmackDown, but Jordynne Grace shouldn't have even been working a dark match that would have seemingly ended up on main event just to suffer an injury. Obviously, injuries happen. There's never a good time for injuries to happen. I agree with your sentiment that somebody like Jordynne Grace shouldn't be on main event. They should pretty regularly be featured on a show that is, by the way, 3 hours. You should absolutely be finding time for somebody of the talent of Jordynne Grace, somebody that you already put in a world title championship feud. Why do they go from that all the way back down to main event to have dark matches? Obviously, these injuries can happen on main event, while training, while walking, in the main event of WrestleMania. So I'm not really concerned that it happened in a dark match. Again, those injuries happen. And obviously, I wish nothing but the best for a speedy recovery here for Jordynne Grace. It seems like it was an ankle injury. People were concerned it was initially a knee, but it looks like it ended up being an ankle, which I am a little bit more optimistic about. But I do want to point out how weird it is to go from the main event of SmackDown facing Jade Cargill in a fantastic match, and your next appearance is on main event. It's just a weird lack of consistency with some of these names sometimes. After tonight, the weeks of Johnny Gargano planking and what's transpired on AEW Dynamite, I'm led to believe that Gargano will be joining Ciampa at some point. It would make sense. You know, you've got Ciampa already jabbing back and forth with FTR, formerly known as The Revival. And of course, DIY versus The Revival was a very awesome, famous feud from the NXT Black and Gold era. So I can see how you're connecting these dots. It's not looking good for Johnny Gargano here, ladies and gentlemen. It does kind of smell like maybe a potential release here is happening soon. As far as I know, Johnny Gargano might be in a WWE contract for the foreseeable future. I don't think that his contract is running out anytime soon. So I think the only way that we land with DIY versus The Revival FTR once again is if WWE decides to release Johnny Gargano. I've seen enough. Put the WWE title on this man. Yes, and please meet all of his Danhausens and please get him his blimp. And if I'm the Miz, I am 1,000,000% mentoring him. I think it's so good that the internet has fallen in love with Danhausen, that the crowds have fallen in love with Danhausen. People were chanting, "You are cursed," alongside him. So now the catchphrase is getting over. The merch is moving like crazy. Here's what's funny, regarding Danhausen is that I forget he's a wrestler, and this might sound mean, I have like no interest at all in seeing him wrestle. I just want to see backstage segments and more shenanigans from Danhausen. But I think eventually, we're going to need to see him in the ring, right? Having Drew win and be champion for a few months is how we should be moving forward with every championship reign. Winning it and defending the title against semi-main event stars like Sami Zayn and then dropping it back into the main event storyline felt good and was a change of pace. That's how WWE championship reigns used to be. They used to be a lot more frequent. We used to have champions that would hold for PLE cycles. We used to have champions that maybe tops a long championship reign would be considered like 4 months. Heck, when CM Punk held the title for 360 something, 80 something days, that was considered like a legendary run because of how long it was. But nowadays, it's just a walk in the park for the Cody Rhodeses of the world. I want to see shorter championship reigns. I know that the downside that some people see in that is that it's going to lead to the championship kind of losing some of that prestige. But I think the other downside is worse, which is that those shows not named SummerSlam, not named WrestleMania, they're starting to lose importance and prestige, because why should I tune in to WrestlePalooza or Fastlane if I know I'm not going to get championship changes because they only happen at the big shows? So yeah, I am down for shorter, more concise championship reigns moving forward. We really couldn't have added them into the gauntlet match? Come on, they've been in catering for long enough. Give me back my Street Profits. Something tells me that we're not going to be getting the Street Profits in the lead up to WrestleMania. I think if anything, we're probably going to be getting them post WrestleMania once Montez Ford has gone through his cut and is back to having a 10-pack, probably, I would assume, because considering, the internet has already been clowning on him because he's in the middle of a bulk and doesn't look as cut as he used to. Anyways, I digress. I miss the Street Profits. I just miss the SmackDown tag team division. I know that it's technically been getting featured week in, week out, but MFTs versus Wyatt Sicks sucks. Like, I'm just not at all interested. Just isn't doing anything for me. But like at least last year, you know, even though we didn't have storylines going on, every tag team was getting featured. Everyone was looking like $1 million. They were delivering match of the year after match of the year contenders. And now look at where we are, unfortunately. I do want the Street Profits back soon. When you heard that Randy had only main evented WrestleMania 2 times, I was bamboozled. He is about to be in his 21st WrestleMania, which means that he has appeared in 50% of them. It is a disservice to a guy like Randy. Yeah, Randy was just never like the guy, you know? There was always somebody else that WWE preferred to prop up. What are his only 2 main events? What, WrestleMania 25? And funnily enough, a match that everybody said shouldn't have main evented. And then, of course, the fantastic WrestleMania 30 main event with Daniel Bryan and Batista. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, when he said that stat, it kind of like it hit me in the face. I couldn't believe that Randy Orton has only been in 2 WrestleMania main events and that this is going to be his 3rd, but it's not like the full real main event because it's a night 1 main event. I would have thought that a guy like Randy Orton would have had a longer Rolodex of WrestleMania main events. Heck, Cody Rhodes, since returning to WWE, has already amassed more WrestleMania main events than Randy frickin' Orton. Fatu coming to interfere leaves the fatal 4-way possibility open at WrestleMania. It's the only positive thing I take from it. I guess we could still make that connection if you really wanted. I don't think that that's what we're going to end up getting. I think that we are most likely going down the path of Cody and Randy and Fatu versus McIntyre. I do want to take this opportunity to point out how colossally stupid Fatu interfering ultimately was, because Fatu was being promised a match against Drew McIntyre in the future. If you're Fatu, wouldn't you want Drew McIntyre to be the WWE champion so that you eventually get a match with Drew McIntyre and you can make it for the WWE championship? Because now you're going to get your match against Drew McIntyre, but it's going to be for nothing. For nothing, Jacob. Think, Jacob, think. At this rate, GTA 6 will be released before this feud between Wyatt Sicks and MFT ends. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was going to end with Solo Sikoa versus Howdy, but again, they just continue to do some sort of Looney Tunes shenanigans and continuing to steal this lantern, unfortunately. A lantern that, unfortunately, even though I know is sentimentally important, WWE has not done a good job at actually portraying why it's important as a story device, why you should care about why the MFTs are running around with this lantern. If it's such an important plot device, WWE should have put a little bit more time in explaining why that plot device is as important as it ultimately is. But it does look like this feud is maybe heading towards a big faction warfare type of match, not for the tag titles, considering the Wyatt Sicks did not qualify for the #1 contendership. I don't know, man. Like, could we be looking at Damien Priest and R-Truth winning the titles from the MFTs before WrestleMania, taking the titles off of them, and then doing the big faction warfare, no titles on the line, MFTs versus Wyatt Sicks? Does it have the legs and the juice and the importance to get to WrestleMania? I mean, right now, at first value, I want to say no, but there are going to be pre-shows on both nights, so maybe it sneaks on a pre-show. Is there a possibility that Cody and Randy main event on night 2 instead of Punk and Roman, with the history between Cody and Randy, as well as Roman not being booked as much as leading up to WrestleMania? I think it could happen. Sure, I think it can happen. However, for it to really get the legs, for it to be a night 2 worthy closer over CM Punk and Roman Reigns, you got to have one of the guys heel, right? You can't have Cody and Randy just be like 2 best friends, 2 peas in a pod. Let's see who's the better man going into WrestleMania. You need to create drama. You need to create an intensity that surpasses what is currently being done between Roman and CM Punk, something that admittedly will be very hard because Roman and CM Punk are doing such an amazing job with the limited appearances that they have together. I think it's an uphill battle. I don't think it's impossible, but the missing piece for it to even be possible is that one, Randy or Cody needs to turn heel on the lead up, not at the show. Why is Julia taking the pin again, man? This United States division is ass. I mean, I got no defense for this. I get WWE wanting to push Kiana James, but if you want to push Kiana James, then why don't you just put the U.S. title on Kiana James? That way you can at least protect your U.S. champion. Why are you having your U.S. champion going out there to get pinned often and repeatedly, week week after week. If you don't want to protect Julia, just make Kiana the champion if that's the one that you want to protect. It's a shame, man, because I think there's still a glimmer of hope that the U.S. Championship for the women's side can get onto the WrestleMania card. And it is Julia and Io Sky. That is the match that will absolutely get this onto the WrestleMania program. But, I think it'd be nice if Julia could, feel strong and important and scary and not like a red shirt fodder going into the damn show. We'll leave it there, guys. I'm sure you guys have a lot of thoughts. Go ahead, leave them in the comments down below. But that's it. Take care. Goodbye. Get out of here.